So yeah, those who don't recognize you from this interview, introduce yourself and what's the occasion here?
My name is Russ Rankin. I'm here in Montreal at Fest to play a set of my solo songs.
Very cool. So you came here last year?
Last year my band Good Riddance played here. It was awesome. Had a blast.
You've been coming to Montreal with Good Riddance
since 1995.
Almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's crazy that it's not been that long.
I started seeing you guys on the what was the album before Evolution? Battles of Evolution.
Forgotten Country was our first album.
The second album, though.
The second album was Comprehensive Guide for Modern Man Value.
Exactly. Yeah. That's when I first started seeing you guys in Montreal. What were your first impressions of Montreal when you started coming here?
Our first time was amazing. The Fat Records, like the bands that were on our label, were just starting to become really like the thing to check out, and so we were on this like really long, our first real tour, supporting our first real album, and we were playing, you know, it was hit and miss. We did a US North American tour, and some shows were awesome, some were like, you know, in somebody's garage or backyard, and it was really, we were just, you know, it was our first time out, we were just enjoying it, and we got here and we were like, you know, holy fuck, these people know every word of the song. And then we didn't have a huge set, we only had one album, and they wouldn't let us, in Quebec City, they wouldn't let us get off stage. Like, they made us play our whole set again. And we came here and had an amazing show, met all kinds of awesome people, and yeah, it was just it was unforgettable. And having had already been to Europe, the vibe in the whole province was so much different from the rest of Canada, and was reminiscent of parts of Europe. So that was kind of a trip to see that and everything, just for the first time. You know, now it's, I mean, as a hockey fan, like, I knew where Montreal was. I knew what it was about. I know they spoke French there. Like, I mean, there was things that I knew, but coming to the city for the first time and being just so embraced by the scene here and by the people that came to the show, and how passionate they were, how much they wanted to talk to us about all kinds of cool stuff, like politics and hockey. It was a great time.
To what degree are you aware of the political, I guess, undercurrents in the province and separation?
Yeah, I knew about it. I knew about it, and I don't know if the other guys in the band did as much. You know, I knew better than to say it's great to be in Canada when I'm on stage. You know what I mean? I've seen lots of bands do that, but I mean, most of the people that I know that live here aren't super crazy about that kind of thing. But it's definitely a thing. Like, it's definitely something to consider and talk about, and like how is our province different, and how is our province being represented, and how can we keep this thing that we have and not just blend into the rest of something else. And at the same time, like, is it cool being part of Canada? Is it not cool being part of Canada? Like, I think that there's probably more discussion that goes on here than anywhere else in North America, even including states, you know, in the US, like that. So it's definitely as an American, there's nothing like this in the States. Like, we can joke around about, oh, Texas and this and that, and like wishing that Florida would fall into the ocean, and we can joke about stuff like that, but there's really nothing quite like when you're traveling across Canada, province to province, and then suddenly you're in Quebec. And yeah, the money still says that I'm in Canada, but everything else looks way different to me, and I think it's awesome. Like, I love coming up here. So yeah, that was definitely interesting. I had a lot of discussions with people here about that whole thing, the separatism and stuff like that. And I follow Canadian politics, you know, as much as I can, as far as, you know, the Bloc and the NDP and different parties up here and stuff. And it's just, I'm fascinated by stuff like that. I'm just kind of a dork when it comes to geopolitical stuff, like Canada, Mexico, Europe, things like that.
What kind of causes and issues are you most, I guess, passionate about nowadays? Which ones are long-standing, and which have you maybe come into, you know, contact with in recent years?
I'm the same. Like I've been. I mean, I've been vegan since 1993. I'm super passionate about animal rights, and I've always found one of the things that caused me to get into that was realizing that the ecological toll that the meat and dairy industry takes on our planet and our resources. And then as this whole climate change buzz has been going on the last 5-6 years, where it's become a thing that people are talking about, I'm like thinking, well, duh, like I put that, you know, a lot of us put those two together like a long time ago, and on one hand, I know that it's wrong to tell other people how they should live their lives. It's wrong to tell people that they have to go vegan. I understand that, and I don't want to be that guy. And then, but at the same time, I'm torn because I feel like there's this ticking clock, and I feel like we're just destroying ourselves, and we're so full of this horrific treatment of animals, and this hypocrisy in our society about the way that we treat like our house pets, the way we treat these animals, and that we're basically robbing Peter to pay Paul, and by like the ecological devastation just so that we can eat a fucking burger or whatever. Like, it's so, at times I get so upset, I work myself into like this crazy state of mind that's not healthy, and so I got to tread that line. It's like I can't be a fascist and tell people they're wrong. I can't say you have to do this, you have to do that. It would be nice to me, in my mind, if we as a species, or let's just say as North Americans, if we evolved to the point where we all sort of could agree that we're doing these things, they're having these results, and these are results that we're not willing to live with for us or our children down the road. And like smoking used to be cool, now it's not as cool. And it's not because somebody passed a law and said you're all wrong, it's because people just evolved and realized, well, okay, doing these things brings these consequences, and I'm not willing to have those anymore. And I'm waiting for us to get there with you know, eating and torturing animals. So that's my biggest thing still. And then just being politically active with the Green Party of the United States and trying to build that up as a legitimate thing that people can get behind and see as an alternative, or not even an alternative, but something that reflects their values. You know, we live in a society in my country where we don't have a free press anymore. You guys still do, sort of, more so than us. I mean, if I'm coming to Canada during election time, I can just turn on the news and I can right away know about 6 parties. There are more, but I can know 6 right off the news. In the States, there's 2. You only know about 2. There's tons more. They're on your ballot when you go to vote, but you never hear anything about it. Complete media blackball. And so I'm trying to break that down and getting people to research and find out the things that in a free society, you know, the systems of information would tell us, but aren't telling us now. So I'm still that guy, you know. I mean, I was talking to my friend Jack, who sings in this band TSOL, who's been at this a lot longer than I have. He said that somebody was asking him if his views have changed over the years, if he still feels the same. He goes, no, I'm still pretty much for freedom and liberty. and I thought that was pretty funny, you know, like I'm the same way. Like one of the weirdest things about my band, Good Riddance, we didn't play for like 5 years, and we just started playing again. And one of the most, I guess it's kind of a tragedy, is playing these songs again and looking at these lyrics that I wrote like 20 years ago and realizing that they're like nothing's changed, and being like sort of bummed about that. Like we've had so many people that have told us that our music has touched their lives and has caused them to become, you know, has to cause them to make positive changes to their lives and motivated them to do things. And that's great, but I'm such the glass is half full, glass is half empty guy that, like, to me, I'm like just bummed reading these lyrics and singing these songs again, going, wow, like I was so hopeful when I wrote these that like it was going to bring on some kind of change. It was naive is what it was. But
look, I guess it brought on change on an individual level, and probably on a community level as well. Maybe not as on a global level yet.
Well, that's where it starts. I mean, if one person decides to like I went vegan because of things that other bands wrote and said and did, and so I've made an impact just in my own day-to-day life based on that. Like whenever people tell me like your music means so much to me and blah blah blah, it's like I don't know how to respond, but I know exactly how they feel because the bands have done the same thing for me. So you're right. It's in the big picture, like it has made a difference, but for me, like it's just hard to see it, I guess.
Well, because you're always fighting, because you're still fighting, and you want to see a better world, as do I.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't see it. I mean, that also depends on what your, I guess, you know, frame of exposure is, right? Like, what do you expose yourself to? What do you consume in terms of media? What do you see every day, day in, day out? You can poison your mind. You can also ignore everything that's happening, or you can kind of slow dose your brain with reality.
Yeah.
Too much truth can, I think, make you crazy.
Yeah.
I've had that. Like, I was far left for a long time.
Yeah.
Getting into conspiracies and stuff, and the truth about, you know, historical events and wars. And I lost most of my family in the Second World War. You know, they were all killed in Europe. Came here. I found that it wasn't only the Germans. It was all the corporations that stood their game, just like now.
Yeah.
And so I'll have no peace, you know, with regards to that. And so, I mean, I guess the fight continues as long as you're alive. Either you live a noble life or you don't. And so you're still living a noble life.
I try to make a difference every day and use whatever modest forum I've been fortunate enough to kind of stumble into to make it happen.
That song "Years From Now" off Ballad of Evolution kind of like foretold a future where you questioning the impact, you know?
Yeah.
And that was one of my favorite songs. That was a hard album. For your heaviest album, eh?
No, the one after Operation Phoenix was definitely the
musically heaviest.
Yeah. Operation Phoenix is where we lost half our fans and gained half new ones. Like Operation Phoenix was either like, if you're a Good Riddance fan, it was either the album you'd just been waiting for us to make, or the album where you're like, F these guys.
Right.
I can't sing along to this. This is garbage. That was a very polarizing moment for us.
It was an edgy album, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's very dark and angry.
Yeah. Well, I love ballads. That's an album that influenced me big time. And I'm gonna say I was at this No Jam here, you know, and I caught almost all your shows in Montreal from back then up until you stopped playing. So anyways, big inspiration. I learned about veganism in the hardcore scene as well in the 90s, the bands like Earth Crisis, and, you know, Decision, the bands who were promoting animal welfare. And now to see so many vegan restaurants sprouting up is actually pretty inspiring.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
And, I mean, people in the mainstream, look, people who train, professionals, they all want to go eat vegan because it's cleaner.
Yeah.
And so somehow, maybe if not as much on an ethical level, but on a nutritional level, people who respond to rational information about health are actually responding by becoming vegan and eating vegan. So that must be encouraging to you to a degree to see.
I think anything that pushes us in that direction and gets us to that moment I was talking about before, where without somebody making a law, or without some kind of fascist declaration where you must now do this. Like I don't. It's hard because like I know in my heart that it's the right way to be, and that what we're doing now is fucked. But I also know that that trying to like bend people to my will is completely wrong and lame too. And so it's hard. So it's about counting the victories. You know, like. There's a restaurant here called the Common Sol.
Yeah.
We started coming our first time here. We thought this is like the most amazing thing if you're vegetarian or vegan. Like this is great. Like looking forward to Montreal, circling on every tour. Not just because the shows are great, but like Common Sol. And then finding out a couple years ago that they started serving meat there, and being like, what the fuck, you know? And
that was very poor.
And then
poor management.
I even wrote a huge email to their customer service thing, being like, you know, like, you guys don't understand, like, bands that are on tour from everywhere, like, come to your place. Like, you're like a mecca. You're like a what do you call it in the desert, where there's like a water in the desert or something like that, like
not a sanctuary.
Whatever, like that you're this thing, and like
refuge.
and now you're just like every other fucking place that serves me, like way to go, nice. So fucked. And then I found out they went bankrupt, and now at the where Common Sol was, it's back, like it's called something different, but it's like the Common Sol, and it's all vegetarian again. So that to me is cool. That's like a little victory. That's like they did something lame. The people said like, well, that's cool. We're just not going to come to your restaurant anymore, and they went bankrupt. And so, and at the end of the day, what's left standing is you can go back to McGill College or Saint Denis, and it's called something different now. But if you walk inside, you'll be like, it's Common Sol.
Right.
Exact same food, same vibe, same everything.
Yeah.
And I just found that out today. Like, to me, that's really cool. Like, that's a small victory.
Yeah. There's a restaurant called Fresh in Toronto. Have you ever been there?
Fresh?
Yeah.
No.
It's like it's kind of like the Veggie Grill on the West Coast. So you got like your
Veggie Grill's insane.
Yeah. Eh?
Yeah.
So you have like your fake bacon cheeseburgers and all that kind of stuff, and your fake chicken. And so they have 4 in Toronto, and they're very successful. And they're opening 4 in Montreal this year. So vegan, you know, Montreal is going to be blowing up to even more vegan establishments. So
it's great.
Hopefully, you know, we can check one of those out next time you're in town. And yeah, a lot of kids here, man, owe their, you know, ethical viewpoints and sense of courage and self-confidence to your music. And you know, I think kids are gonna always be loyal to you here. So they'll appreciate this interview, as I'm sure all your fans will. And I thank you for your time, for being so, you know, stand up and everything.
Thank you.
I'm gonna come in and check your set now. Looking forward to it. That's way to close out the weekend.
Yeah.
Any final words of, I guess, wisdom for kids out there struggling, looking to get through rough times in their lives, whether financial or family or, you know, self-confidence or bullying, any kind of general, you know, wisdom for people out there?
Whenever I was in a bad way, I would listen to The Crew by 7 Seconds, the whole album front to back, and then you'll feel better when you're done.
Just actually interviewed Kevin yesterday.
Yeah.
So
there's nothing that can happen in your life that The Crew won't help.
Cool, man. And what's next for you as an artist?
So Good Riddance is writing new material. My other band, Only Crime, just released our 3rd album last week. So I'm touring this summer with Only Crime. We're doing some European shows and trying to play as much as we can. And I'm starting to write new solo songs as well. So I'm pretty busy.
I actually interviewed, now that I recall, Aaron.
Yeah.
For an Only Crime interview at the Medley. Remember that?
Yeah.
For Hard Times. That I recall doing, because I know Aaron from Bain.
Yeah.
Bain days. I grew up on Bain, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's true. Yeah. On your first album cycle, I believe, was it 5 years ago?
First Only Crime album.
How long ago is it?
It was 2005.
So 9 years ago.
Yeah. And then our second one was 2007.
So then it was your second album cycle that I talked to Aaron, and we had a good time, and that's a great band.
Thank you.
Great band. So looking forward to seeing all your projects come back in Montreal, man, and I'm back in the juice now with this, you know, new publication of mine, so I'm gonna be out getting soaked on punk again.
Cool, man.
Thanks a lot for your time, Aaron.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, eh?
Yeah, no worries, man.